I'm going to do most of the work here on the structure tab, which is where you do the restructuring type activities. Quick look over here at the views tab here, and then the complexity sub tab. If I drill into the size and complexity bar chart at the top level, you can see Maven Core is substantially bigger than the other modules. This is not uncommon in the case of Java code that's broken into modules. You will often get one very large module. So we want to split that up, let's say. And the strategy we want to use for splitting this up is any classes that are used by Maven Enabler, but not Maven Compat, will go into its own module. Likewise, anything used by Maven Compat, but not Maven Enabler, will go into another module. And then anything that's used by neither will go into its own module, and anything that's used by both will go into a separate module. And so Maven Core is going to go away and be replaced by 4 new modules based on those dependencies. Just a little bit of tidy up first. This dependency here between Maven Enabler and Maven Compat, I can see there is a dependency there, but it's only a Maven dependency. There's no actual code level dependencies between those two modules. By comparison, if I look at this one here, you can see again, I've got that dependency. That's to grant access from Maven Compat code to Maven Core code, but that access is actually used by a whole bunch of class level dependencies. So this one here that is not used, just by way of tidying it up, I'm going to remove it. Just cuts it from the model. And in fact, I probably would want to remove that. If I'm not expecting code level dependencies between those two modules, I should remove the module level dependency in the Maven files. So now I've got the situation here where I've got 2 modules using the module I want to split up. So it's a bit tidier. First thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to select those 3 modules, and up here I'm going to click on the button to filter in or isolate those 3 modules. I don't care about the other modules. The other modules are used by these 3 modules, but they're going to have no bearing on the strategy I'm about to follow to split up Maven Core. Just to make things a bit easier to follow along, I'm going to rename these 3 modules to be just A, B, and C. It just makes it easier to talk about. But also, if you are wanting to follow along these steps, you can do so with your own code base by renaming your own modules to be A, B, and C. And then when you finish splitting up your equivalent of Maven Core, you can rename them back again to their original names. It can make it a bit easier to do that. Remember, this structure tab, the levelized structure map, is just a sandbox. You could do whatever you want in here. You're not changing any code. When we're finished this process, we can get the information about the process we followed to get the results we want and make those changes to the code if we decide to go ahead with the changes. Okay. So now rename. This is going to be A. Select this one. F2 is the same. So it's going to be B. And then this one here is going to be C. Next, we're going to create the modules that we're going to use to extract the files into. And the way we do that is we do add a module. First one is just going to be called unused. So this is for the stuff that's in C, but not used by either A or B. Next one is called A only. So this will have any code that's in C that's only used by A, not B. Then I'm going to add another module called B only. And finally, we want a module that will hold any of the code that is in both A and B. I'm just going to call that A plus B. Now, just to mention, before I go ahead any further, in the settings here, an important one to remember on the granularity tab, make sure you have this option selected normal. We don't need all the internal class details in our model for what we're about to do. We're only going to start breaking up our module at the class level. And not only that, but if you include the details level, it'll make your dependency chasing a little bit harder, or even quite a lot harder. So I strongly recommend for this kind of process, you use the normal granularity. Okay, let me just switch on the dependencies here. Show all dependencies. Okay. So now you can see we've got A and B use C. That's our sort of setup. And then these other modules, there's no dependencies going in or out of those because they're empty. Okay. Switch this back to show dependencies unselected. I want to flag any items in C that are used by either A or B. So I'm going to do tag used by selected. You can't see here because it's gone off the screen, but I'm selecting indirect. Now, I'm just going to give myself a bit more screen. I'm not going to use these viewers around the side of the levelized structure map. So I can just double click on the header there to give myself a bit more room. Now, after that tagging, these blue dots appear. They're the tagged items. So you can see this class here is tagged. It's used by either A or B. If I select it, I can see, it's used by something in B. This one here is not used by either A or B. It's not tagged at all. And that's the case across the board here. Okay. I did indirect usage. So sometimes things won't be used directly by the code in B, but it'll be used by something that is used by the code in B. So this is an example here. You can see Maven execution exception here. It's not actually used by A or B, but it's used by internal error exception, which is used by something in B. There are also code at deeper levels inside some of these packages. Some stuff is used with a blue dot. Some stuff is not used, no blue dots. How do I now ask Structure 101 to move all of the things that are not tagged, that are not used by A or B, into the other module? That's what I'm going to do. So the way I'm going to do that is I collapse this down here. I'm just going to filter on C. I don't want to see the other stuff just at the moment. So I isolate C, and then I'm going to click this button here, which is show the outer class slice. A slice is sort of cutting through the containment hierarchy so that you no longer see all of these, things like modules and packages. You will only see classes. So let me click that. And that's what happens. All I'm seeing here are the classes. Some of them are tagged, some of them are not tagged. How do I select all the ones that are not tagged? Well, I could go through and command click all the ones that are not tagged. There's an easier way to do that. These are all the different ways I could automatically group the items in the LSM. One of them is tagged items. So I select that and splits this all of these, just double clicking to collapse these two groups. One group has no blue dot on it. It only contains things that are not tagged. The other group contains only the tagged things. That's the effect of this option here. Auto group the tagged items. So now what I want to do is I want to take this group here, 156 classes, and I want to just move them. I want to cut them from wherever they are at the moment, whatever sub packages they're currently in. I want to cut them from there. Okay. And it relays it out with the results. So now tagged items is all that's left. Switch off the slicing. Okay. So now I see C is there. I'm actually going to switch off this grouping as well for the moment. Then I'm going to step backwards in my filter. Okay, so go back to what I was looking at. I don't want to see the whole code base. I just want to see what I was previously looking at, what I had previously filtered on, okay, which are these are modules of interest. Okay. And what I want to do is now I want to paste all of those untagged items into this unused module. Now, did you notice that the unused module here floated up the way? That's because it is now using some stuff in C, but it's not used by A or B. Excellent. That's exactly what we wanted. If I look inside there, you can see that when I do a paste from the clipboard onto a module, all the classes that I had selected are pasted across, but they retain their fully qualified package name. If I were to do a paste onto a package, what that's telling Structure 101 is that it wants to paste the classes into just that package, and that'll change the package structure. But pasting at the module level has that effect. At this stage, C contains only the classes that are used by either A or B or both. So now we want to extract from C the things that are used by A only. In order to do that, we're going to untag things that are used by B indirectly. Then we're going to follow the same process to extract those items from inside C. First of all, filter on C, go to the class slice, group the tagged items together, and this time the ones that are tagged is what we're going to remove. So cut those, remove the class slice, go back in the filter stack, go to A only and paste those items in there. We switch off the grouping and A only then, if I select it, I can see, as expected, it contains only the things that are used by A and not by B. So now what's remaining in C is a combination of classes that are used by B only and some classes that are used by both A and B. So we're going to select everything that's in the current C, everything that's in that circle, and then we're going to deselect, detag the things that are used by A, which will remove this section here, leaving just the things that are used by B only. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just clear the tags and then tag everything that's inside C. Then I'm going to untag anything that's used by A. Untag used by indirectly. We'll follow the same strategy as before. We're just going to filter on C. We go to the class slice, we group the things by their tag status, and we grab the tagged grouping here, cut it, and then we go backwards in here, collapse that, go to the B only, paste, and job done. As you see here, when I select the B only package, it is being used by B and also some things in the unused package, but it's not being used by anything in A. That's exactly what we wanted. Now, having removed the B only subset from C, all that remains is the classes that are used by both A and B. So in principle, we could just change the name of module C to be A plus B, but in practice, it turns out a bit easier to extract the classes from the original C module and paste them into the new A plus B module. This will save us having to tidy up empty packages from C. So I'll go ahead and do that. We follow the basic same steps. I filter on C. I go to the class slice. I select anything on the top line and then shift click anything on the bottom line to select all of the classes in the current view. I cut those, remove the class slice, collapse that C module, go back in the filter stack, and then paste into A plus B. And the final step is to remove the original C module. And that's the classes now divided into the new modules as we intended. If you click on this button up here, you'll get a dependency graph, and you can see this was the result we were looking for. We've got the original A and B unchanged, and the original C has been replaced by the 4 new modules according to their dependency from A and B. So at this stage, I'm going to rename A and B back to their original name. If you mouse over them, you can see that the tooltip tells me what it used to be called. So I'm going to rename them back to the original name. So Maven Compat and Maven Embedder. And now I'm going to clear the filter to bring back the other modules that we had hidden. The final step is to add in any module-to-module dependencies that are going to be required in order for the new modules to be successfully compiled. So if I select, for example, one of the new modules here, A plus B, and I look at its existing incoming dependency here, I'm just going to bring back my viewers by double clicking the header and dragging this up here, because this is the viewer I actually want to see. You can see here are all the dependencies that flow across that module to module dependency. There's a bunch of class to class dependencies. Now, what isn't there at the moment is a dependency from Maven compat to A plus B. I can add that in on a one-by-one basis by just doing allow. And then if I select it here, you can see you've got the Maven compat uses A plus B. So that's a direct module to module dependency, which you would put into your Maven setup or whatever to allow Maven compat to compile against the classes in A plus B. Now, there's going to be a whole load of those because I created 4 modules with quite a lot of module to module dependencies implied by those. The code is moved into the new modules, so we know in the Structure 101 model which modules need to use which other modules, and we can ask Structure 101 to give us that information quite easily. I'm going to click on the properties here. This goes to the project properties, and I click on modules here, and then I'm going to select this option here, modules requires violations. This will get Structure 101 to flag any problems with the module to module dependencies. To actually see them all the time, I'm going to click this button here, and you can see all of those dependencies that have come up now are places where there are dependencies between the code in the modules for which there is no corresponding module to module dependency. So there's quite a lot of those, and I could go through and select them and do like I did before and allow them, which would create the module to module dependency. Or you can do it all in one step. Module, add all missing requires dependencies. You can also, by the way, remove all unused requires dependencies. So anywhere where there are dependencies for which there is no code level requirement for that module to module dependency, you can remove those, or you can do both of those together by clicking this tidy up. So I'll just click the tidy up. And now when I look at any of these module to module dependencies, you'll see there is a corresponding Maven level dependency there. When you're happy with your model and you want to go ahead and make those changes to your code base, all the information about the steps you followed is recorded by Structure 101. So for instance, you can go to this menu here and say Show Actions, and you can see inside here, you've got the 4 new modules being created at the root level. On this refactorings tab here, you have all of the creation of the module to module dependencies. And here you have the class map, which is any classes that have been moved to a new location are listed in here, the original location and the target location. So move this class here to A plus B dot same class. It might look like a lot of classes, but of course, remember, all of this is just moving between modules, so none of your code or even import statements need to be changed. You can copy directly from these lists to the clipboard or to files. The other thing you can do is share this action list so that it is visible inside Structure 101 Workspace. Here's the whole list of actions down here, step by step, as you perform them in Studio, and developers can navigate from the model in Workspace to the IDE.